But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it. And the reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last week.
When *Charlie$Kirk slapped The View with a $100 million lawsuit, it didn't just spark a legal battle. It detonated a daytime disaster. Sunny Hostin melted down on live TV like a soap opera diva who just learned her contract been axed, delivering drama so rich it needed its own theme music. Whoopi sat frozen with that unmistakable not again glare, while Kirk tried to convince America he was a true victim of words, no less. It was Courtroom circus meets comedy roast, a masterclass in public spectacle. Tears flew, tempers flared, and tension crackled so loud even Judge Judy would have ditched her bench and gone full Bravo. And the first to crack under pressure? Not a lawyer, not a host. Nope. Someone no one saw coming, making the whole ordeal feel less like a lawsuit and more like the season finale of unhinged daytime TV.
SuCharlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo...
Let's talk about that $100 million. Yes, $100 million. It's a number so oversized it sounds less like a lawsuit and more like SuCharlie Kirk's starter kit for becoming a Bond villain. Picture it. A private island, a theme park packed with conservative mascots, maybe even a jetpack or two. That price tag doesn't just whisper damages. It shouts asterisk, watch me hijack the headlines. Asterisk Kirk didn't just file a lawsuit. He launched a publicity stunt wrapped in legal paperwork. And his main target? The View, a caffeinated chaos factory masquerading as a talk show. On paper, it's a panel. In practice, it's verbal dodgeball with no referees and even fewer rules. Each episode feels like a political fire drill, with nuance left outside like a wet dog. It's not discussion, it's decibel warfare. So when Kirk lobbed his lawsuit into their set, it wasn't just legal action. It was a full-scale daytime detonation. The View has been coasting on fumes and feeling for years, doling out daily dramatics like they're breaking news. Celebrity breakups are treated like national emergencies. Minor policy debates morph into high-volume shouting matches. It's a soap opera in political drag, where every sigh, gas, and eye roll is served up like it belongs in a history textbook. Imagine a round table of professional interrupters who treat eye rolls like mic drops. They don't argue, they perform. The louder the outrage, the more convinced they are they've said something wise. Differing opinions are met with synchronized gasps, like someone screamed fire in a crowded theater. For years, this clucking council has peddled outrage as enlightenment, spinning hot takes into gospel. But now, someone finally yanked the emergency brake on this runaway circus.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men actually voting more for him, and you have and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Enter Charlie Kirk. He didn't just lob criticism from the safety of the sidelines. He marched straight into the lion's den, nodded politely, and dropped a $100 million legal bomb like it was just another Tuesday. But let's be clear. This move isn't about the money. It's about drawing a line in the sand, calling out the noise, and saying enough to the non-stop echo chamber of smug takes and high-decibel ignorance. Kirk didn't just sue a talk show, he sued the entire machine. A megaphone of melodrama that confuses volume for truth and eye rolls for intellect. This lawsuit? It's less legal maneuver, more cultural clapback. Not just a stunt, but a full-on walk into the loudest room on daytime TV and a shouted demand. Quiet down. That $100 million is less a cash grab than a fire alarm. A red flag waved at a media landscape that has long traded honest dialogue for theatrical outrage. For too long, that studio has churned out noise like it's allergic to reflection, shrieking through segments as if shouting alone wins debates. Kirk's target isn't just Whoopi or Sunny. It's a whole circus, the broader spectacle where faux intellectual shouting matches are packaged as analysis. He's swinging at the entire outrage economy. The fake debates, the viral tantrums, the stage wisdom that gets sold as truth. It's audacious, maybe even a little doomed. But in a world addicted to noise, Kirk's legal cannonball might be just disruptive enough to make people stop scrolling. He's not just filing suit, he's lighting a fuse.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump, and they don't want to be called stupid or uneducated.
Let's be honest. Asterisk The View Asterisk stopped being a talk show ages ago. What's left is a live action machine, fueled by hot takes and questionable fashion choices. Sure, there's a table on set, but it's no round table. It's a spinning carousel of condescending commentary, where fact get bent, stretched, and sprinkled with smugness. Opinions aren't offered. They're preached raw and loud, like volume alone makes them profound. When parody and reality blur this badly, someone was bound to hit pause. SuCharlie Kirk just happened to do it with a lawsuit, and front and center in this drama, Sunny Hostin, once a respected legal mind, now the reigning queen of daytime mic drops and overcooked commentary. These days, her law degree feels less like a credential and more like a stage prop. Flash between takes like an influencer showing off a weekend certification. She tosses around legal jargon like she's selling a DIY justice kit on a live stream. Confident, yes. Substantive, not always. But now the script has flipped. Sunny's tangled in an actual legal mess, one that won't be solved with sass coffee or cue cards. And before anyone reaches to the tired talking point about silencing women, let's make something clear. This isn't a gag order. It's a reality check. Accountability doesn't care about applause lines or airtime. Daytime TV can hide behind the just opinion defense all it wants. But when those opinions become flamethrowers aimed at reputations, someone's bound to call the fire department. What's knocking on the View's dressing room door isn't censorship, it's justice. Clipboard in hand, court date scheduled. Because when you spend years turning people into punchlines and roasting reputations like it's sport, eventually, someone sends a bill. SuCharlie Kirk just did. And this time, there's no commercial break, just a long overdue demand. Prove it.
Turning Point conference. These were in the front of out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs, and
I think it's important that every single person that attended that Turning Point, every Republican speak up against the SWAT, against the flags that were waved.
You let them in.
President, open your
You let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit.
For over a decade, The View has acted like it holds a VIP pass to say whatever, whenever, no fact required. It's been a free-for-all of booming voices drowning out real conversations, bulldozing dissent, and repackaging smug takes as some bold anthem of empowerment. What they call fearless commentary is usually just pre-scripted outrage, tailor-made for TikTok clips and studio applause. But somewhere between the claps and commercial breaks, they forgot something crucial. Broadcasting to millions isn't just a vibe, it's a responsibility. And sometimes that responsibility comes with legal strings attached. This isn't a flip fairy tale or a David versus Goliath spin. It's a story about a media machine that got too comfortable hurling accusations from plush swivel chairs, assuming consequences would never knock. Now, SuCharlie Kirk is a guy throwing open the blinds. He's not launching a war. He's asking the question viewers have been asking for years. When does the show stop and the accountability begin? This isn't cancel culture. It's consequence culture, and it's long overdue. Kirk didn't fire the first shot in some grand culture war. He just said what millions have been thinking. If you're going to toss verbal grenades on live TV, don't act surprised when someone calls for cleanup. Now, the mess is on the table, and the cameras are still rolling.
Now we begin with a shocking apology just a short time ago from the ladies of The View to Turning Point USA. A war of words broke out after the conservative group was rallying the next generation of voters at its youth summit in Tampa, Florida this weekend. And the liberal panel just couldn't help themselves. The group sent a scathing cease and desist letter after hosts on The View suggested that Turning Point had embraced neo-Nazis who showed up outside the...
In a media world hooked on going viral, maybe someone needed to remind them, truth isn't a trend and responsibility isn't optional. So the next time that View intro music hits, don't just grab popcorn, grab a notebook. The age of untouchable talk show theatrics might finally be limping to its finale. And honestly, it's about time. Let's be clear, this isn't Charlie Kirk throwing a tantrum. This is a calculated, gloves-off power move. He's flipping the script on a show that built its empire by turning dissent into a dirty word. For once, the self-declared queens of chaos are being dragged off script, forced to defend their dramatics, without a cheering crowd, without a teleprompter, and without the cozy safety net of studio bias. This isn't cancel culture. It's a long overdue reality check. And the irony? Chef's kiss. The View, a show that parades around with its free speech badge like a suit of armor, is now staring down a brutal question. How free is your speech when it veers into public slander? Suddenly, that banner of bravery looks a whole lot like a liability. Sunny Hostin might want to dust off that law degree, because this isn't just a PR storm. It's a legal reckoning, and the receipts are stacked. Cue the panic at ABCHQ. Lawyers combing through old segments like scholars decoding ancient prophecy, digging for anything that can morph into courtroom ammo. Behind the scenes, producers are sweating bullets, strategizing how to keep future episodes spicy without turning every hot take into a legal landmine. And the hosts? Still perched on their velvet thrones, probably wondering why the courtroom doesn't come to a live audience to applaud every snarky one-liner.
Let me kind of humble the audience a little bit. Donald Trump won by less than a point in Wisconsin, about 28,000 votes. He won by a point-ish, 1.2 in Michigan. And then he won by 1 point in Pennsylvania. And so, Megan, it is conceivable that without this record movement of youth vote, he doesn't win.
Oh, the content has been theatrical, no doubt. For years, The View has transformed latte preferences and scarf choices into moral battlegrounds, turning everyday nonsense into grandstanding declarations. But now, that performance of faux moral superiority may have finally scripted its own downfall. Because when the spectacle spills into a courtroom, the applause fades and the notepads come out. The show's outrage engine never stops. It's fueled by pre-packaged indignation, perfectly timed gasps, and enough smug clapping to power a luxury retreat. Drama isn't just a byproduct. It's the ritual. But now, it's not just the cameras blinking. So are the hosts, caught like deer in the unflinching glare of a courtroom spotlight. Suddenly, all that fire and fury gives way to awkward pauses and selective amnesia. It's like they collectively forgot the years they spent launching verbal missiles at anyone bold enough to disagree. These ladies weren't just hosting. They were running a daytime demolition crew, tearing into reputations between ad breaks for eye cream and protein bars. It was messy, unfiltered, and always delivered with a healthy side of sanctimony. But now Charlie Kirk has stepped onto their glitter-dusted stage, not with mic drop, but with a stack of legal documents. No rants, no punchlines, just cold, methodical courtroom energy. He didn't come to spar, he came with subpoenas and a strategy.
It's amazing. She's specifically there referring to the women, but of course it's the non-college educated men as well who voted for Donald Trump. And the nerve of this woman to whom the country has given so much to try to dump on people who didn't go to college. Look at you. Look at your achievements. How do you like the so-called uneducated now, Sonny?
This legal clash isn't just Charlie Kirk picking a fight. It's a calculated takedown of an empire disguised as journalism. The View, a flashy talk show titan, has spent years confusing volume with value and applause with credibility. But this lawsuit isn't just ruffling feathers. It's yanking the entire NBC peacock by the neck and demanding clarity. Where exactly is the line between opinion and defamation? This isn't personal. It's structural. It's a challenge to a media machine that rewards echo chambers and bullhorns over substance and honest dialogue. At The View, disagreement isn't discussed. It's stomped out, loudly and theatrically, with no room for nuance. But now, the stomping has stopped, and the real questions have begun. This isn't some petty media feud. It's a challenge to an entire format, one that hide behind hot topics, laugh tracks, and studio applause while ambushing anyone who thinks differently. What we're witnessing isn't just a lawsuit, it's a reckoning. Because eventually, even the loudest echo chamber meets someone who doesn't flinch, someone who didn't show up to debate but to dismantle.
Do you think if a liberal came to speak at University of Kentucky, they'd give an open mic like I just did to a conservative and had a discussion like this?
I certainly hope they would.
No, they wouldn't. Because speech is not a left-wing value. That is why they have to deploy shock troops called Antifa to go after everywhere I go. When I go to University of California, Davis next week, there has to be 120 police officers because of the threats, the violent threats of liberals that want me dead, that want to disrupt our events. There are no right-wing hecklers that come to events like
that. $100 million isn't just some headline-grabbing flex. It's a siren blaring through every newsroom that built its brand on mockery. Want to turn public figures into human punching bags on national television? Fine. But don't act surprised when one of them punches back with a lawsuit instead of clapback. This time, the piñata brought a lawyer. Sure, The View might enjoy a temporary rating spike. Controversy sells, clicks pile up, and viral sound bites do their job. But now, they're learning the other side of that equation. So does accountability. Charlie Kirk's lawsuit just raised the stakes, turning all that cheap drama into something far weightier. He forced the host to realize that those snarky one-liners might cost more than applause. They might cost him in court. Then there's Sunny Hostin, The View's resident legal voice, now stepping into an actual legal drama where she's not the one analyzing case. She's part of it. This isn't a segment where you toss out words like defamation while sipping tea between takes. This is real. And the courtroom doesn't care how many Twitter followers you have or how sharply you deliver your outrage monologues. It cares about evidence, facts, and measurable harm. And right now, The View's recklessness is finally being put under a microscope, one legal page at a time. Let's pause and really soak this in. Charlie Kirk, the guy they spent years mocking for being too loud, just launched a $100 million lawsuit against a show that's built its entire brand on being even louder. But instead of retreating from the noise, Kirk walked right into the belly of the beast and threw a legal haymaker straight at the smug, side-eyeing circle of daytime hypocrisy. Because let's be honest, asterisk The View asterisk stopped offering real insight long ago. These days, it's designer tantrums, sarcastic applause, and bias so thick it bulldozes any opinion that strays from the script. They don't debate, they dismiss. But now, for once, they're not dismissing a guest or a tweet. They're staring down the barrel of a $100 million courtroom reckoning.
I don't want to say too much, but we're going to have a lot of fun at the Department of Education. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Can I tell you something? Like, I've had quite a few people contact me about that particular post. Like, I'm sure I have 1/100th of what you're getting, but people are contacting me about cabinet posts. I'm like, I got nothing.
I mean, I'm actually, after this conversation, heading to Mar-a-Lago for a week. And we have a lot to sift through. And if I could be helpful, I have asked. I want to be actively involved in all things education, as you can imagine.
Sure. Kirk's critics are already lining up to call this performative, a PR play, a stunt. But if this is theater, then hand the man a trophy. Because unlike The View, he's putting on a show that actually matters. This isn't noise for clicks. It's a legal alarm clock, and it's screaming, enough with the games. Supporters of the show will trot out the usual buzzwords. It's satire, it's opinion, it's protected speech. But when your entire routine is turning real people into punchlines, mislabeling beliefs, and passing public judgment before the first ad break, that's not neutrality. That's narrative warfare. Kirk's lawsuit isn't a meltdown, it's a boundary, a bold one, and it's making the loudest table in TV land squirm like never before. This isn't commentary. It's character assassination with a smile. The View has made a habit out of turning real people into recurring gags, treating reputations like disposable napkins between sips of coffee. But this lawsuit, even if it doesn't shut the show down, is forcing them to face the mirror they spent years avoiding. And maybe, just maybe, they'll finally realize that talking into a camera doesn't mean you're above consequences. Words carry weight, especially when they're broadcast to millions. And this time, the blowback isn't a hashtag or a viral clapback. It's a legal challenge. One that says, if you're going to drag someone to the mud on air, you'd better have more than studio applause backing you up. And what about the audience? They deserve better. Better than a shouting match disguised as journalism. Better than 5 voices tripping over each other to see who could be the loudest or the most outraged. What The View has been selling for years isn't news. It's noise. Not ethics, but ego. And thanks to Charlie Kirk, there's finally a chance to raise the bar. This isn't just legal drama. It's a warning shot to an entire media culture drunk on its own arrogance, the kind that confuses mockery for analysis and replaces truth with whatever fits the narrative. But now the volume's dropping in this lawsuit. It just might be the mute button mainstream media never saw coming. So yeah, laugh at the chaos if you want. But beneath the memes and headlines is a serious question about responsibility. And The View finally has to answer it.